Good evening, everyone. I'm Steve Savard. In the next hour, we'll relive a memorable season and show you how Mark McGwire became St. Louis's home run hero. We'll note his incredible accomplishments in a season that thrilled fans here in St. Louis and around the world. We'll show you every home run that Big Mac launched this season. We'll take a look back at a season that breathed new life into the national pastime. Everyone knows baseball's greatest fans are here in St. Louis, and we've witnessed our share of memorable moments here at the ballpark. September 1974, we watched Lou Brock break the single-season stolen base record. On this very field, Whitey Herzog's Cardinals won the World Series title in 1982. And we've seen big home runs. Who can forget Ozzy's left-handed homer in the '85 playoffs?
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! It's a home run!
All great memories. And now we can add Mark McGwire's run on the most celebrated individual record in sports, Roger Maris's 61 home runs. Anticipation for the moment built early, and with good reason. Mark McGwire has always been a thrilling power hitter. In his very first at-bat as a 7-year-old little leaguer, he hit a home run. A pitcher turned slugger, he shattered home run records in college. Struck gold with the '84 Olympic team. As a rookie with the Oakland A's, he hit a record 49 home runs. He was an all-star, a Gold Glover. He hit a game-winning home run in the 1988 World Series. The kid-faced slugger was on top of the world.
You know, USA goes around doing that little thing with your pitcher, which is the most exciting moment in baseball you like to do. And I think I said hit a home run in the World Series to win a ball game. And it happened tonight, so this has to be the top. Has to be.
In 1989, he was a World Series champion. And on July 31st, 1997, he became a Cardinal. On August 8th, he hit his first Cardinal home run.
I love him. He's great. I think he's going to be a hero.
Later in September, the greatest slugger of the modern era turns his back on the free agent market and signs a 3-year, $30 million deal to stay in St. Louis.
Now I know what everybody's talking about when they told me when I came over here to this is what you're going to expect. A town that supports baseball at its best. That's why it wasn't really hard after 3 or 4 weeks for me to fall in love with the team, the city.
Mark McGwire would go on to hit 58 home runs in 1997, joining Babe Ruth as the only players in history to hit more than 50 home runs in back-to-back seasons. But it was only a taste of things to come. After a winter's worth of waiting, the Redbirds and their fans head south for spring training 1998. It's a new season and a new training facility in Jupiter, Florida. And for Mark McGwire, the first volley in what would soon grow to be a seemingly endless barrage of questions about the record.
Nobody knows what the future holds. You just prepare yourself and see what happens.
March 31st, the day diehard Cardinal fans have been longing for. The boys are back in town. Some are predicting this is the Cardinals' year to take the pennant. Maybe more. Everyone is expecting Mark McGwire to deliver. And he does. McGwire begins his pursuit of Roger Maris's record in Herculean fashion. 5th inning, bases loaded, 2 out, goodbye.
Swing and a high fly ball in the left. That ball carries to the track, might leave the park. He did it! A grand slam!
With one swing of the bat, Mark McGwire becomes the first Cardinal to hit a grand slam on opening day. And as if the opening day blast wasn't enough, the home runs just kept coming.
Swing and a long one. Good night. Here's the pitch. Swing and a long one to left. Hooking and going. Fair for a home run. The pitch to Mark McGwire. Swing and a long one. Calling air traffic control. Calling air traffic control.
4 home runs in the first 4 games. Big Mac ties Willie Mays' National League record, and St. Louis goes crazy. But after a long road trip, no more home runs. Mark McGwire and the Redbirds return home, and Big Red picks up where he left off.
That's why. See you later. McGwire trying to change that. That's well hit down the line and left. 2-0. Into center field. It's a 3-home run night for Big Mac.
It would be the third 3-home run game of his career. And waiting to greet him each time he crossed the plate a bat boy by the name of Matt McGwire.
Breaking ball, long fly.
3 days later, number 8. 5 of Mac's first 8 home runs come when the Cardinals wrap up April on the road. Number 9 comes against the Expos. Number 10 in Philly. Later at Wrigley, Mac goes 0 for 3 against Cubs pitching phenom Kerry Wood, but lights up a relief pitcher for number 11 to wrap up the first month of the season.
And it is gone.
St. Louis was stricken with a bad case of McGwire mania. It infected everyone, but hardest hit may have been the young fans. Jason Whiteley witnessed a scenario played out before every game here at Busch Stadium. The boys and girls dreaming of getting an autograph from their hero.
You'd think kids are on a deadline here. The truth is, though, the gates have just opened.
Excuse me.
And everyone is after a tangible piece of tonight.
Mr. McGwire!
The autographs I want was Mark McGwire, Brett Langford, and Ryan Jordan.
Kyle Joyner is 11.
I only been to about 5 games, and I never got autographed.
Mr.
Ryan Mormon is 11 also.
I've been to 5 games, have 5 autographs. McGwire! McGwire!
And both of them want Mark McGwire's autograph.
If I get the autograph, then I'll be satisfied.
I've been here ever since the gates opened at 5:10.
Let me sit down on this.
Woo! No
Smoking. That's out.
Being a kid may be harder than you remember.
The hardest thing is probably trying to actually get someone's autograph. Trying to be able to actually say, getting over here, saying that can you please sign my ball or my mitt or my glove or whatever.
I was gonna get this signed, and this depend I was gonna let him sign it.
Only if Kyle gets lucky, he'll take home a memory of McGwire.
Well, if I don't get the autograph, I'll just keep on trying.
Remember, though, he is competing against Ryan.
Come on, McGwire!
That's mine. Thank you.
It took 2 hours,
I was surprised that I got that close.
but he finally got what he came for.
I got a paper that was signed by Mark McGwire, and I'm gonna show my dad.
And the man destined to become a baseball legend did not disappoint. By the end of the month, Mark McGwire had 32 RBIs, tying a National League record. And despite the growing spotlight of fans and the media, Max showed us that this was only the beginning. When we come back, you'll see Big Mac's greatest hits in his quest to become St. Louis's home run hero.
Mark McGwire, St. Louis home run hero, is sponsored tonight in part by Ford. See your local Ford dealer today. By the Sourdough Jack from Jack in the Box. 4 million antenna balls can't be wrong. By Suzuki, makers of the all-new V6 Grand Vitara. By Big Kmart, low prices all the time. Lowest sale prices every time, guaranteed. And by Mitsubishi, wake up and drive.
That Band-Aid marks the spot where number 16 left its mark. If you've ever wondered how the Cardinals measure home runs, well, it's not with a tape measure, laser, or some sort of fancy computer program. They use this, a crude chart with certain sections and seats marked with approximate distances. And in the end, it all comes down to the chart, a sharp eye, and a good guess. But Big Mac isn't big on showing off his awards and records. It's not his style. In fact, he gives most of them away. He gave his 1990 Gold Glove Award to his optometrist. His 87 Rookie of the Year Award is in a storage facility with a lot of his other trophies. And when Mark McGwire re-signed in '97, we saw a new side of this gentle giant.
Let's just say that children have a special heart, a special place in my heart. And
33 seconds passed before Mac could speak. A friend of his worked with abused and neglected children He had met some of those little boys and girls scarred by the abuse. Mark couldn't stand by and do nothing.
I will do everything in my power to start my foundation to help them out.
Big Mac is a big softy. The movie Driving Miss Daisy makes him cry. And while he's a towering mass of a man, he has his physical frailties. He has 2,500 eyesight, a troublesome back, a chronic sinus condition, and he's terribly claustrophobic. A wimp? Hardly. He swings the 34-inch, 33-ounce piece of lumber as if it were a toothpick. The dedicated weightlifter steps in at 6'5", 250 pounds. His biceps measure 20 inches, his forearms 17.5 inches, and with jacks like that, you can do things like this.
Okay, now, we talked yesterday about baseball's most powerful slugger, Mark McGwire, St. Louis Cardinals, who has got, I don't know, 26, 27 home runs so far, on his way to maybe breaking Babe Ruth's record. It's going to be a very exciting summer watching this powerful guy swing the bat.
Now Big Mac is getting big-time attention across the country. And here in St. Louis, his impact and every move, no matter how minor, gets major attention.
You know, there's so much scrutiny from the media. And sooner or later, people are bound to say or do the wrong thing. But he's dodged that bullet so far. He's been wonderful with the things that he's said, the way he has embraced Sosa literally and figuratively, and the way he's treated the fans.
It was that he was such a big story so early in the season. He says, wait a minute, I only have 10 home runs, I only have 13 home runs, I only have 25, or whatever the number was. He expected that kind of attention at 50, but not that kind of attention before 50.
With the eyes of the baseball world focused squarely on Mark McGwire, everyone expected Big Mac to launch a home run every time he stepped to the plate. So how did McGwire deal with the pressure in his run for the record? Bob West sat down with Tom Lampkin and Pat Kelly, McGwire's closest friends on and off the field.
Though you'd swear he's from another planet the way he hits a baseball, Mark McGwire's best friends say he couldn't be more down to earth.
It's not like he's this, superstar. He won't talk to anybody. I mean, he's about as friendly as he can get. He gets along with everybody on the club. I mean, he's a regular guy. I mean, he gets mystified by how people are, chasing him and following him and want his autographs and, chasing him down the street. It's kind of crazy.
Catcher Tom Lampkin and second baseman Pat Kelly have been swept up in the mania surrounding their buddy. They say it's like hanging out with Elvis. On the last road trip to Miami, they were driving together across town to a restaurant.
And this car full of, Dad was driving and 3 kids followed us all the way there. They had probably driven for 30-something minutes in the car, just through some back roads and everything, trying to get to us. And that was unbelievable. He can't even sit down and eat a meal or, just talk with us or have a normal, time out.
And those autograph hounds rarely even notice who's sitting with McGwire.
We get run over. We get run over and trampled and pushed out of the way, and it's amazing.
Mark has said all year, as this thing's evolved, he hasn't changed at all. It's just how the people treat him that's changed and how people react to him. Do you agree with that totally? Has Mark changed at all?
Compared to the start of the season, he's the same person. And people, I think people have a tough time understanding that. They're like, is he nervous? Is he relieved now? And I think he's a little bit of all of that, but he's the same guy now as he was in the beginning of the season.
Publicly, we saw moody McGwire at times during the season, but his friends say that was more human nature and less a result of pressure from the record chase.
Any baseball player gets cranky throughout the season. I mean, nobody's going to be a saint.
While his friends defend him and praise him, they have no plans to worship him. After all, when next season rolls around, they've got to live with him.
It sounds like we're talking about he's dead or something, like we're having a tribute to him.
May would prove to be a month of extremes. It would be his most productive month. Number 27 ties Mickey Mantle's record for 16 home runs in May. It also brought the moment when a hard swing on a soft grounder caused Mark to wince and St. Louis to hold its breath. June 1st, in his first at-bat against San Diego, an awkward swing led to an infield grounder and a cautious run to first base. Plagued by a history of back problems, McGwire told trainers he felt a pull in his back and removed himself from the game.
I've had a history of back problems, which is something I've had since '89, and I have to deal with for the rest of my life. And I had an awkward swing, get out of the box, felt a twinge. I know my back like the back of my hand, and I'm not going to push it. So it's a day-to-day thing.
McGwire would be out of the lineup for 3 days. The team returned to St. Louis, and Mac returned to the lineup, and in his first at-bat, blasted away any questions about his back 409 feet away to straightaway center field.
I'm alright. Nobody but about me. Why you got to give me a fight? Can't you just let it be? I'm alright. Don't nobody but about me. You got to give me a fight. Why don't you just let me be?
The Paul Bunyan of batters is at the halfway point in his chase to catch Roger Maris. St. Louis fans cannot get enough of their home run hero. Margie Ellisor shows us the Cardinal front office is deluged daily with a tidal wave of mail, and it's all addressed to Mark McGwire.
Oh, yes, wait a minute, Mr. Postman. Wait, hey, Mr. Postman.
A lot of it is getting to him, some of it is not.
Oh, yeah.
I think it'd be unrealistic to think he's going to see all of it. Now is probably not the best time, as you can see, just by the sheer volume. Mark McGwire's autograph is probably the biggest autograph right now going. Woo! He's overwhelmed by the gifts he's receiving and doesn't know what to do with all of them. His appreciation for them is endless. It's just a matter of being surprised that so many people want to bestow gifts upon him and not knowing exactly what to do with all of them.
Hey, a photo.
We're going to get him back in the mail if you've sent us return postage. It will come back unsigned. It will probably come back months down the road. We will do our best to get him back to you. Give us some time. Be patient.
You wouldn't stop to make me feel better.
To this point, Mark McGwire has had the home run spotlight all to himself. That's about to change. The race for Maris's record is about to get very interesting. Slammin' Sammy Sosa is juicing up for June, and baseball will soon crown its new home run dynamic duo.
"61 homers, man, that artist talk. 61 homers, 61, that's all. The way the boys are swinging, the record's gonna fall. Back in St. Louis, that may be the place. When the city's jumping, Sammy's keeping pace. The way the cats are hitting puts a smile upon my face. You know we're gonna crown the king of swing. The record's going down the king of swing. And he'll be rolling down the king of swing. Roll out the carpet for the king.
Baseballs were blasting into the bleachers all over the National League, thanks to the Bash brothers of the 90s, Mark McGwire and Sammy Sosa. Just as the race was heating up, the All-Star break proved to be a letdown. During the heavily anticipated and much-hyped home run derby, McGwire came up short and failed to make the finals, while Sosa sat out with a sore shoulder. By this time, stadiums were opening early, crowds coming out hours before game time just to watch the pair take batting practice. It got so bad that McGwire threatened to stop taking BP altogether. Restrictions were placed on the media at home and on the road. Everyone wanted a piece of Big Mac, or as Doug Vaughn found out, anything having anything to do with Big Mac.
I don't care if I ever get back.
They broke into spontaneous song at Famous Bar while waiting for the chance to plunk down big bucks for the latest Mark McGwire item.
I wanted to get the T-shirt that had all the different balls on it for him. That way I had a leverage. Did you go to the game?
Local printers have been working around the clock to feed the demand in St. Louis and around the world.
See 150,000, 175,000 units go out the door.
McGwire postcard stamps, gold medallions, pictures, and plaques all seem to be selling as soon as they can be printed up, mounted, and packaged.
It's a figurine, 12,000 of them were done. So, and they've been very popular as well. $30.
Even before he hit number 62, sales of McGwire merchandise at Busch Stadium were brisk. But after that record-breaking night, it bordered on the ridiculous, right through the end of the season on Sunday. The Cardinals had to limit access to the team's store. Have you ever seen anything quite like this before?
Never.
I'm a Cubs fan. So.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah.
McGwire has been cautious in the products he's endorsed. He did pose for a limited edition bat that sells for $229. A portion of that goes to the Cardinals Care charity. McGwire Mania has even encroached on the Beanie Baby market. A Big Mac bear wearing the number 25 comes with a steep price tag, but is attracting worldwide attention.
People want McGwire stuff all over the country. My wife and I were out of the country a couple of months ago, and people were talking about his home runs in hotels where we were. I mean, everybody wants. I got a call about 10 minutes ago from England. Somebody wants Mark McGwire cards, so it's everywhere.
Some fans have made their own mementos, including this tiara that reads 62 and beyond. You don't think you're taking it too far with the
No, no. We're going to add more on. Add more on next year.
Oh, really? How much have you spent on all your McGwire stuff?
Way too much. We're doing wonders for the St. Louis economy.
It's unlikely that any other individual has ever had this kind of an effect on the St. Louis economy or on the behavior of middle-aged shoppers.
Three strikes, you're out at the old ball game. Go Mark!
One of the hottest McGwire souvenirs isn't available in St. Louis. It's Mark's hat. Not this hat. This one, the Abbey hat he wears during press conferences. The Southern California restaurant is run by one of Mark's friends. Mac wears the hat, and that has sparked a run on the headgear. Now the sports bar can't keep the hats in stock. Orders from around the world just kept coming, and so did the home runs. The race to catch Maris is shifting into high gear. It's early August, and Big Mac has 41 games to hit 15 home runs. You don't want to go away, because we're working our way toward that unforgettable night. The night Big Mac reserves his place in history. Cards and Cubs at Wrigley, the friendly confines, packed to capacity. McGwire and Sosa tied at 47. In the fifth, Sosa goes on top with number 48. 3 innings later, Mac responds. The game would go to extra innings, and in the 10th, Mac digs in and reclaims the lead. A 402-foot shot to straightaway center field.
Number 49!
Mark would leave Wrigley with new energy.
I knew how important it was for him to be the first guy to hit 50 3 seasons in a row. And even if he didn't get to 62, he was going to cherish that 50-50-50 a lot. He was concerned. This was the day after he hit 48 and 49 in Chicago to pass Sosa, who'd led for about 58 minutes in this chase here. He was worried it would take a long time to get to 50 from 49 just because how much he wanted it. Well, when he did it the next day, that took a tremendous amount of pressure off him.
The next day in New York, game 1 of a doubleheader, number 50, and Mark appeared to turn the corner. Pumping his fist as he rounded first base, the record was in reach.
I've been feeling good physically. And, you know, it's just a matter of getting pitches to hit. It's a matter of staying positive. You know, it's a tough thing to do what everybody wants to be done, and it might look easy, but it's not.
In the nightcap, Mac cracks number 51. 10 to tie, 11 to break Roger Maris's record. And as Jason Whiteley found out, the fans and media can't get enough.
Victoire. Journalists are the real reason Mark McGwire is known around the world.
We're here to record history. Every home run he hits is historic.
You don't realize how popular the first baseman is.
I'm Edwin Polk with the Miami Herald.
Until you find out how far folks have come.
I'd say the Cardinals and McGwire are in direct competition with the Hurricane for the top story in Miami. But sure, it's great news down there. It's all anybody talks about.
They talk about it everywhere.
I work for the Associated Press. My pictures go to every news organization around the world.
My name is Kei, and I'm working for the Yomiuri Shimbun, the Japanese newspaper.
We're the world's largest news organization, so I'm taking pictures for 5 billion people to see tomorrow. Fastball outside. Here we go. Center field. Bam, 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 bam. It's gone.
That is one of 28 Mark McGwire home runs John Gapps has photographed this season.
This is a lot harder than it looks. He's very fast through the strike zone, and we miss about as many times as he does. But nobody's paying me $9 million a year, so I don't feel quite as bad as he probably feels.
Hi, Dave. This is Joel, KYTV. Hey, Ellie. Yeah, get Brad for me, will you? Thanks. Got a window on SPS 6-2 full, 14074 vertical.
Even after the game is over.
Here in St. Louis, it's Hurricane Mac, almost as powerful and even more predictable.
McGwire's story isn't over.
This is one of those stories that, while it is incredibly difficult to cover as far as the time, I mean, we have to keep shooting out stories and things like that, it's one of these stories that you will never forget, and you will always be proud to be able to brag that you were here when it happened.
Prennent les devants dans la course au meilleur deuxième, un demi-match devant les...
Unless you had seats in the stadium this season, you saw Mark McGwire make history through the eyes of the media.
Afterwards, it will all be over, but the continued celebration here in St. Louis. Ellie?
August was hot. Mac was hotter. Three Rivers Stadium. Mac skips batting practice. In his first at-bat, he belts number 52 and breaks Babe Ruth's record for most homers in 3 consecutive seasons with 162. The next day, he again skips batting practice and smacks number 53. Back home at Busch against the Marlins, Mac rips the cover off the ball, a 509-foot shot, but he doesn't celebrate. The bullpen blows a 9th-inning lead, and the Cards lose the game. That weekend against the Braves, rookie umpire Sam Holbrook calls a 3rd strike against McGwire, and Big Mac explodes. Holbrook throws McGwire, Tony La Russa, and pitching coach Dave Duncan out of the game. 47,000 angry fans throw trash on the field.
Hey, I get upset like any normal American, you know. I was caught off guard, and I got upset, and I let some steam roll off, and maybe I had to do that. I was talking to Bobby Knight before the game. I don't know.
The next day, 7 hours after Sammy Sosa ties him at 54, Mac retakes the lead with his 5th 500-foot blast at Busch Stadium this season. 6 to tie and 7 for the record. And the Cardinals are on the road at Florida, facing a pitching staff that McGwire has hammered all season long. Big Mac goes fishing for more records and gives the fans a show they've never seen before.
I haven't seen headlines on news programs, not on sports programs, but on news programs. They start the 6 o'clock news by saying Sammy Sosa hit 2 home runs, or McGwire still leads the chase. Communications have changed so much that the answer has to be no. I've never seen anything like it.
I've never spent so much time writing about one player in my career, and probably never will.
But all the attention is creating problems for St. Louis's home run hero. Cardinal Chief of Security Joe Walsh was assigned to travel with Mark this summer. He spoke about that with our Ray Preston.
101 to 708.
Meet Joe Walsh.
Go ahead, Joe. How we looking down here tonight?
A former St. Louis homicide detective.
Hey, kids, you got to be across the street, okay? All right, I'm the boss man, so you got to be across the street selling, all right?
Okay. He now works security. Joe Walsh is a throwback to the days of the cop on the beat, the guy who would walk the neighborhood making sure everything was okay. Only for Joe Walsh, his beat is Busch Stadium.
How you guys doing? All right?
Walsh oversees all of the security at Busch, but in the year of McGwire, he also had a special assignment. By mid-August, McGwire mania had reached such a peak that even on the road, McGwire was nearly mobbed wherever he went.
It became almost physically impossible for him to move around because of the crowds of people that were gathering around him.
So Walsh was assigned to be the buffer between McGwire and adoring fans. When you're 6'5" and the Paul Bunyan of baseball, you don't walk into a restaurant and go unnoticed. A constant stream of fans would come up to him,
wanting to either shake hands or an autograph or get their picture taken, tell them stories about, oh, you're my favorite player, you're my mother's favorite player, or, you know, somebody's got to be the bad guy and say no autographs, you know, we'll sign at the ballpark or whatever.
Even though it's been life in the fishbowl for McGwire this season, Walsh says he doesn't feel sorry for him, but he wishes sometimes people would back away a bit so the man who created such delight and excitement for others could enjoy it himself.
September 1st, Pro Players Stadium. The final week Roger Maris would hold the home run record. Mac goes on a 2-day multi-homer streak. The record was his, but the race was far from over. Mark McGwire hit number 63, but Sosa responded. And as Mac stepped in at Milwaukee, the race was a dead heat. Mac bruised Brewer pitchers for 64 and 65. And later that game, Mark returned to the plate and delivered a line drive to left center field that wound up in the waiting hands of a reaching fan. Second base umpire Bob Davidson called fan interference, forcing Mark to stop at second. The fan was taken away by stadium security. He lost the ball, was kicked out of the park, and charged with trespassing.
It looked like the man that caught the ball, I mean, he never came over the yellow line. So I can understand if he came over the yellow line, but the replay shows that he didn't. But then again, it's a judgment call. I mean, he did his best by getting out there and, you know.
Replays showed the ball may have been a home run. An appeal to the league office was denied. Number 66 would have to wait. For fans, the call would go down as one of the worst in Cardinal history, rivaled only by the moment St. Louis will never forgive or forget. Don Denkinger's call in the '85 World Series.
Well, I believe him when he says he didn't care if McGwire had 150 home runs. He's going to call what he saw. And there were some hands over the rail. And whether those hands were the ones that got the ball, that's the hard part to tell. They may not have been the same people. But, and that's a very hard call to make. They've got a wall, they've got a chain link fence, and then they've got a rail with the yellow line. So Milwaukee should do something about that, because that's not the first time that's happened there.
I hope that umpire doesn't go down in infamy along with Don Denkinger. He's the kind of a guy, though, who enjoys being in the middle of the stew pot. He enjoys being in the middle of it. He'll say to his dying days that he called it right when all of us know that he didn't.
Mac was at 65, tied with Sammy Sosa, with 3 games to go. Cardinal fans stared in disbelief as the stadium scoreboard revealed Sosa had hit number 66. Would Big Mac finish second? Just 45 minutes later, Mark McGwire put any doubts to rest. Number 66 was the first in a barrage of blasts that would leave a young Expo pitching staff shell-shocked. Big Mac belted number 69, his 4th home run in 3 days, but the big guy had one last at-bat.
Number 70! How much more can you give us, Big Mac? Number 70!
Hitting 70, I've never even thought about it, dreamt about it. How ironic when I got to 62 so early in September and everybody was saying shoot for 70. And I come into the clubhouse when I got taken out of the game and they already had a hat made.
When it was over, Mark McGwire finished the 1998 season with a remarkable 70 home runs. Sammy Sosa belted 66.
It's one of the best things that's ever happened in sports, not only baseball. I mean, people who aren't even baseball fans are are kind of glued to the sets or glued to the radio or can't wait to get the paper in the morning.
The Maris's, while I'm sure they hated to see Roger's record go by the books, met McGwire on a couple other occasions and had a lot of respect for him. They don't mind at all that he is the record holder.
We're going to be a better ball club next year. We were better this year than we were last. We'll be better next year. But no matter how good we are, can you imagine? Can you imagine being in postseason play with McGwire, doing what he's doing next year? I think it'll happen again. I really do.
Mark McGwire brought the fans back to baseball just 4 years after the strike of '94. He reminded us of everything that's good about the game. His successful run at Roger Maris's record makes him St. Louis's home run hero. Next year, Big Mac zeroes in on 500 career home runs. And maybe, just maybe, he'll make another run at the single-season record. Thank you for joining us. I'm Steve Savard. Good night.
It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life. It's something unpredictable, but in the end it's right. I hope you had the time of your life.